Hello, my friends. Welcome to this channel. Here, we share simple but powerful stories. Stories of life, struggle, and hope. Each story is not only for practicing English, but also for touching your heart, reminding us that even in the darkest times, light will come. So sit back, listen carefully, and let these words guide both your learning and your spirit. Let's begin today's journey together. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my English learning channel. Today, I will tell you a very emotional story. A story about war, hope, and never giving up. Our story takes place in the 1940s, during a time of war. The world was full of chaos, fear, and hunger. In a small European city lived Daniel Kovacs. He was not a soldier, not a leader, not a rich man. He was just a simple mechanic, an ordinary worker with ordinary dreams. But destiny had prepared for him a path full of pain, struggle, and also unshakable hope. Daniel Kovacs lived in a small European city torn apart by war. The year was 1942. Bombs sometimes fell at night, shaking the ground and filling the air with fear. But Daniel was not a soldier. He was a mechanic, a man who loved to work with machines, fixing broken engines and rusty wheels. His hands were always rough, his clothes always covered in oil. Life was already hard, but war made it even worse. The factory where he worked was destroyed in an air raid. Overnight, Daniel lost his job. With no income, the little money he had soon disappeared. Daniel lived with his wife, Anna, and their 6-year-old daughter, Sofia. At first, they tried to stay strong together. Anna worked in a bakery, waking before dawn to stand in long lines of bread. Sofia was too young to understand the danger, but she felt the sadness in the house. Every day, Daniel searched for work, but the city was in ruins. Factories closed, shops empty, people desperate. Some nights, they had only a piece of stale bread to share. Daniel often gave his portion to his daughter, pretending he was not hungry. Anna grew weaker each week. Her eyes lost their light. Her voice grew tired. One evening, as bombs echoed far away, she whispered, "Daniel, I can't live like this anymore. I must leave." Her words cut through him like a knife. He begged her to stay, but her spirit was broken. A few days later, she was gone. Daniel stood in the silence of their small room, holding little Sofia in his arms. He felt his world collapsing, yet when his daughter looked up at him with innocent eyes, he made a promise in his heart: "I will not give up. I will fight for her." After Anna's departure, life became even darker for Daniel and little Sofia. The city groaned under the weight of war. Food was scarce, work was gone, and fear walked the streets like a shadow. Every morning, Daniel carried Sofia in his arms or held her small hand as they joined the endless lines for bread and soup. Sometimes, after hours of waiting, the soldiers announced, "No more food today." Mothers cried, children begged, and Daniel stood silently, hiding his despair. Their tiny room grew colder as winter approached. With no money for coal, the nights were cruel. Daniel wrapped Sofia in his only coat, shivering as he held her close. He often whispered, "Sleep, my little one, Daddy is here." But when she drifted into dreams, he wept silently in the darkness. Then came the eviction. The landlord, harsh and impatient, demanded payment Daniel could not give. One bitter evening, they were thrown out. With nowhere to go, father and daughter wandered the broken streets. The bombs had left many buildings in ruins, but sometimes a half-destroyed cellar became their shelter. Rats scurried across the floor, water dripped from cracked ceilings, yet it was the only roof they had. One night, as sirens wailed and explosions shook the ground, Daniel shielded Sofia with his body. She clung to him, trembling, asking in a tiny voice, "Daddy, will we die?" His heart ached, but he forced a smile. "No, my angel, we will survive. I promise." In that moment, Daniel understood. His love for Sofia was the only weapon left against despair. He had nothing, no home, no money, no wife, only a daughter depending on him. And for her, he would endure everything. One cold afternoon, Daniel and Sofia walked through the ruined streets, searching for scraps of food. Sofia's cheeks were pale, her steps weak. Daniel's heart ached. but he kept moving, whispering promises of better days. As they passed the town square, Daniel noticed a man stepping out of a sleek black car. In the middle of war, such a sight was rare. The man wore a fine coat and carried a leather case filled with papers. His face was calm, confident, so different from the hungry, desperate crowd around him. Curious, Daniel approached and asked, "Sir, what do you do?" The man looked at him and replied, "I'm an engineer. I work on rebuilding factories for the new government. Skilled workers are needed, men who understand machines." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. Mechanic work was all he knew, but it was also his greatest strength. In that instant, he saw a door opening, a tiny path toward survival. Later that week, Daniel heard about a special program. The authorities were selecting a handful of men for technical training. It would be brutal, with long hours and little pay. Only a few would succeed. But for those few, a steady job and food rations awaited. That night, as Sofia slept beside him in a cold cellar, Daniel stared at the cracked ceiling and whispered, "This is my chance. Maybe my only chance. For her, I must try." For the first time in months, hope flickered inside his weary heart.